Thank you very much. Prime, Adi Salman, Assalamu alaikum, friends, seniors, even the colleagues of my dad. First of all, I thought that this is the first report, and I thought it's the seventh report, and I was talking to Kemal sir. Is this seventh really? And he said, yes, we now have a trajectory. So, sir, commendable job, and by Prime and Adi Salman and other colleagues who joined this team. I'm surprised that no one else has replicated this thing, because this is the seventh report for the last 3.5 years, if I'm correct. And I haven't seen any other research organization is replicating this thing. So the debate is still inside the Prime. So I thought that as an academician, as a researcher, though I'm in the government organization, but still they give us leverage to speak against the government. So let's see. Ali Salman Sahab has rightly said that there are some biases whenever we give scores to some performances. While I was reading that report, I was like, यार इस पे कुछ ज़्यादा दे दिए या इस पे कुछ कम दे दिए. And in the end, I think that overall, Prime is very generous in giving the scores to different things. So it is, to me, it is overestimated. Even though it's 4.51 or 4.94, whatever it is. 4.94 it is, I think it is overestimated. But as far as interpretation is concerned, I was reading, which is a bad thing, but I was reading in the report that 1 to 4.9 is policy direction is not clear. The second one was institutional bottlenecks exist, I agree, and no or very little implementation has started. As a critic, I would say that the implementation may have started, but it is not visible. This is my view. Maybe you will disagree with it. The another was that the policy direction is very clear, I believe, but still not very clear. But it is not clear is to me is a wrong statement, and that is why it is close to 5. So institutional bottlenecks will be there. Are there, and policy direction is clear but a little blurry. So not clear, blurry, and very clear. So there will be 3 stages of it, and the implementation is not visible. For example, I was thinking that Kemal Saab should be here. CPEC, no one doesn't know that where is it, at what stage is it right now. Yesterday we met with the chief economist, and he said that वो project भी हो रहा है, वो project भी चल रहा है, वो भी चल रहा है, हमारा coal project भी चल रहा है, and we had a long discussion for 1.5 to 2 hours, and it seems like that they are implementing things. Long-term plan is there, but it's not visible. So there's one of the points. As far as manifesto is concerned, the policy, when we did a small exercise on 6 manifestos by the PMLN, PPP, PTI, PMLQ, I think MQM and ANP. And in the end, we thought that, oh God, all the manifestos are not based on research. Whatever we did, whatever STPI did, whatever other think tanks are doing at that time. For example, circular debt should be eliminated as one of the core things of the manifesto of PMLN. There's a study done at the Planning Commission. They are not following it. So, first was that the manifesto was not based on the research, and they are not doing or they're not following those research as well. The circular debt is down because of the reduction in oil prices. The other implementations such as civil service reforms and NEPRA reforms or GENCOs or DISCOs reforms, they are all still there. So in those areas, Prime is very generous in giving those scores, like 3 or 4 or 5 sometimes. Good economics is good politics. I don't want to comment on it because sometimes economics says that there should be no distortions. There should be no taxes. But taxes are part of the redistribution of the things. But we collect taxes to pay our debt and debt servicing. And some of the debt we pay, some of the tax revenues are done to not to redistribute the resources, but to run our own state-owned enterprises. Like 27% of the budget is going at one entity of the government. I don't want to name it. What else is there? Okay, at the scorecard, which is comprehensively told by Ali Salman Saab, if we look at the 7th tracking report and the 3rd tracking report, if we can base the scores of these 2 years, or 2004 April June and January June 2016, the score is improved due to reforms in financial sector, which is again not visible very much, interest rate decline, which has to, infrastructure boom, which is due to hard infrastructure. There's no soft infrastructure reforms, there's no civil service reforms, and then job opportunities, which is again not visible very much. So these are the 4 things on which the score is improved. Other things are very important, such as GDP growth, budget deficit, inflation, government borrowing. Even though government borrowing has declined, but there is an interesting thing that if the government borrows, the money does not circulate inside the economy. Inflation comes down. So one of the reasons that inflation comes down is a reduction in the credit creation, more government borrowing, and oil prices decline. Then, as far as energy security is concerned, the score has improved from 3.93 or 4 to 5.27, basically due to gas imports, coal and LNG import terminal, and third coal fields. So there are no major reforms efforts from the government. So all we are importing, and that is the reason that energy security situation is improving from this scorecard. So this is one of the findings of this result of this study, which are very important in terms of policy making, that you are not doing anything. You are just importing everything. There is no domestic reforms. There are no economic reforms, which is a straightforward lesson or story of this report. In the end, I would just want to clarify one of the things, that as far as debt burden is concerned, government is committed, which is I just did a paper on that sustainability analysis, that we can restrict our debt to 60% of GDP, but that doesn't mean that our debt burden will reduce. Just to mention that if current account balance remains at 1% of GDP and fiscal deficit remains at 4% of GDP, by 2025, if we can sustain our debt to 60% of GDP, our overall debt will increase by 2.5 times. Is this an alarming situation? That depends. Thank you.